This has genuinely been one of the craziest off seasons I've ever witnessed, and we're not even at free agency yet. Giannis Antetokounmpo just got traded to the Miami Heat. If you haven't heard that, you're either A, living under a rock, or B, you're staying off social media and you're going out to enjoy some of the great weather that we're having this summer. And if that's the case, I commend you. Way to touch grass. But no, not me. I have been inside all summer, scrolling Twitter, scrolling social media, looking at all the offseason trade rumors, all the offseason signing rumors, everything you can think of. I'm a content goblin. And I'm honestly kind of happy that Giannis has finally been traded, because I can finally stop getting constant reports from Shams that is saying Giannis is going to get traded next week, and then next week rolls around and everybody looks at Shams and he's just kind of like. But also for the fact that, the Giannis trade rumors take away a lot of publicity, a lot of attention from a lot of other things that are going on right now. And if you just thought that this Giannis trade was going to be the only big move of the offseason, well, I got news for you, buddy. There are chances that superstars are still on the move in this offseason. Because again, I think there are some superstars that are closer to being moved than you think that they are.
Look at the Boston Celtics are actively engaged in trade talks surrounding Jaylen Brown with multiple interested teams. And I'm told there is a sense of purpose from teams.
And that maybe there are financial issues in Minnesota, and that could lead to Anthony Edwards, who has taken that team. Could he be unhappy there? Big Perk, you have a definitive answer.
If they are pivoting out of the veteran guys, what does that mean for Kawhi Leonard?
So if you say to me, Giannis has now been traded, who would be the next NBA star that you would watch? The answer would be Anthony Edwards. Already, Anthony Edwards has watched Karl Towns, a player he totally fit with on the court, be traded to the Knicks and win a championship.
But very quickly, before we get in the rest of this video, if you guys enjoy this type of content, all things NBA, all things hoops, please make sure to hit that like button on this video. If you guys want to stick around, join my community, I would love to have you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I know I took a pretty long hiatus since my last video, but I am back. I'm here to stay. I'm here to talk about the NBA. And so, right now is the perfect time to join my community if you guys want to. Tons of NBA content is going to be coming out this summer and into next season. But with all that out of the way, let's talk hoops. And the first guy I want to talk about is not a shocker. It's the obvious candidate that everyone else has been talking about if you're not talking about Giannis, and that is Jaylen Brown. Now, if you don't know, the Celtics have been shopping Jaylen Brown this whole offseason. And originally, they kind of said, well, unless we get Giannis, he's probably not going anywhere. But now that Giannis is gone, the Celtics have kind of changed their tune a little bit. And, I just read reports from Bleacher Report today that said, the Celtics are still looking to shop Jaylen Brown, even with this Giannis trade already happening. Now, why are the Celtics doing this? Well, I think two reasons, honestly. First of all, we know Jaylen Brown wants to be the number one option. He proved basically this whole season that he could be a number one option on a top team in a conference. He led the Celtics, who thought they were going to have a gap year, to the second seed in the East. Now, they kind of squandered it in the playoffs, but it doesn't change the fact that Jaylen Brown had a dominant regular season. And I also think that dominant regular season has kind of pushed the Boston Celtics to maybe want to get rid of him. And here's why I think that is. Because the Celtics just saw Jaylen Brown lead this Celtics squad to the 2 seed in the East. Now, it's no secret, though, that, Jason Tatum is the guy on the Celtics. He's the guy that the front office and everybody values the highest. It doesn't matter how good Jaylen Brown played or plays, they're always going to look at Jason Tatum as the guy. And so I honestly think that the Celtics are looking at this like, well, we just saw Jaylen Brown lead this team to the 2nd seed. Why can't Jason Tatum do that next season on his own? And we can get rid of Jaylen Brown and bring in, maybe more complementary pieces, because let's be honest, the Celtics are not that deep of a team. Like, They have glaring issues off the bench. They have glaring issues at the center position. They're not going to get Vooch back. And so they might feel comfortable that Jason Tatum can take this team to the top of the East and they can get rid of Jaylen Brown for maybe 2 or 3 complementary pieces to round out their roster. Now, who is looking at Jaylen Brown? Well, the front runner right now are the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets just had a horribly disappointing season. I won't call it a horrible season, but a horribly disappointing season. Coming into the year, everybody thought they were going to be at the top of the West, and they really struggled this year. And so, we saw reports that maybe they also might be willing to give up Alperen Şengün because, the Celtics need a center in return for Jaylen Brown. And then you get Jaylen Brown in there with KD, Fred VanVleet's coming back. Reed Shepherd took some strides this year. The Rockets may think that that is their key to being a top team in the West. And another team that's in the Jaylen Brown conversation are, surprisingly, the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers, have been reported to have shown major interest in Jaylen Brown. They're still kind of looking for that guy. They kind of got it in Deni Avdija this year, but I'm not sure if Deni Avdija could ever, carry a Western Conference team to the championship. I don't think he's that caliber of player. And so maybe they're thinking, we could bring in Jaylen Brown and Deni Avdija, and we have Damian Lillard coming back this season. We could make some noise in the Western Conference. And the last team that's kind of a dark horse team, in my opinion, that nobody's really talking about are the Detroit Pistons. No bias included. I genuinely think that the Pistons should be looking at Jaylen Brown because he is exactly what they need. The downfall of the Pistons this year was they didn't have a secondary star. And so you bring in a secondary star in Jaylen Brown to play alongside Cade Cunningham, and the Pistons kind of have some pieces that they can work with and that they are working with this offseason. They've talked about maybe trading Ron Holland. Beef Stew is on the market. Duncan Robinson too, Karis LeVert. These are all guys that can be packaged together and shipped to Boston. I know Boston has really been interested in Beef Stew because, again, they're incredibly weak at the center position. Now, this next player hasn't been talked about nearly as much as Jaylen Brown, but I believe that his chances of getting traded this offseason are pretty much just as high, and that guy is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi is coming off a career year in scoring for the Los Angeles Clippers. And the Los Angeles Clippers kind of did something crazy this year, when they started the year 6-21 and then randomly brought their season back from the dead and were around 500 around the trade deadline. And then all of a sudden, they decided to blow the team up. They got rid of James Harden. They brought in Darius Garland. They got rid of Zubac. They brought in Mathurin, and they got Indiana's pick ended up being Keaton Wagler. But Kawhi's kind of that odd man out, and we've heard reports that the Clippers are looking to move on from Kawhi. They were looking to move on from James Harden. They're both old players, and so they don't really have much of a future left on the team. They don't have much of a future left in the NBA, and so I think they're looking to ship Kawhi sooner rather than later, just because he doesn't really fit the focus of the team anymore. They brought in a bunch of young players that they can develop, and Kawhi's already developed. He's not getting any better. If anything, he's probably going to start regressing in the next couple years. And so I think a lot of teams are slowly, now that the Giannis sweepstakes are over, are focusing on, okay, what's our next move? And I've already seen a ton of Kawhi Leonard conversations, come up. Now, again, I think a team that makes the most sense is the Detroit Pistons. No bias included. Please, guys, trust me, no bias included. But I'm just evaluating, what Detroit needs this offseason. And they're a team that is defined by gritty, tough defense. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best defenders of all time, one of the best wing defenders of all time in the NBA. And also, the Pistons are looking for a secondary option. And I think Kawhi fits the secondary option role more than Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown does want to be a primary option. Some other teams that could make a splash in the Kawhi sweepstakes, the Lakers are always in the conversation just because, you know, his family's all in LA, they're all in California, so he might want to stay local. I've seen the Houston Rockets. An intriguing one that I've seen is the Golden State Warriors. You know, Jimmy Butler had a disappointing season for them that ended in an ACL tear, and so, you know, Steph only has a couple more years left, guys. And so they could be like, you know, maybe if we move on from Jimmy and package him in a deal to get Kawhi, well, maybe, you know, he could be that, you know, next step up from Jimmy Butler that can get us into the playoffs and get us a deep playoff run. So now I think the next guy that I'm going to talk about is going to be a player that nobody expects. You're going to be like, what? But just hear me out. And that guy is Anthony Edwards. So shortly after Giannis got traded the other day, you know, phones were blowing up, everybody was talking about it, but I got an alert on my phone that really intrigued me, and it wasn't talking about the Giannis trade. It was talking about how a lot of NBA insiders and a lot of NBA execs believe that Anthony Edwards is going to be the next superstar traded in the NBA, and that a lot of teams are, you know, kind of slowly monitoring the situation over in Minnesota, because guys, it does not look good over in Minnesota. Minnesota just traded Julius Randle for basically like a second round pick, and that was it. Now, yes, they got off, you know, a ginormous salary that allowed them to sign Ayo Dosunmu to a giant extension. But can Ayo Dosunmu really be, you know, the second option on this team, or I guess maybe third option behind Jaden McDaniels, and lead the Timberwolves to a finals in this stacked Western Conference? I'm not quite sure. Not to mention that Minnesota has had a lot of deep playoff runs, but have never, you know, made it to the promised land. And so how many more years is this going to happen until, you know, Anthony Edwards gets a little frustrated? There's already a lot of interest for Anthony Edwards. It's just a matter of time, especially if the Minnesota Timberwolves, you know, can't put anything together in the next couple of years before Anthony Edwards might be ready to ask out. Now, of course, these three guys that I just talked about aren't the only ones on shaky ground. I want to give a shout out to Donovan Mitchell as an honorable mention. Donovan Mitchell has been searching for major playoff success since he's ended up in Cleveland. And while this year he finally shook the, you know, second round out curse, he still did lose to the New York Knicks in the conference finals. You know, it's only a matter of time until he either asks out, or I think he has, you know, a contract ending in the next year or two, and he could easily be, you know, moving in free agency to some other team. While any of them could be moved, any of them could be traded, again, if I have to go with the heavy favorite with the guaranteed get my money back and more, it's probably going to have to be Jaylen Brown. I just think the relationship between him and the Celtics, especially with them, you know, actively shopping him this offseason, I think that relationship is kind of damaged beyond repair, and I think they realize that. And so I really do truly think that the next superstar traded is going to be Jaylen Brown, and it's going to be in this offseason. But again, that's just my take. I'm just a guy who talks about the NBA in his apartment office. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is the next superstar to get traded? Whether it's, you know, someone that I mentioned in this video, or whether it's some random superstar that you have a crazy conspiracy theory about that you think is going to be moved next. Let me know about it down in the comments. And also, if you guys made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you guys so much for watching the whole video. It means so much to me. But second of all, you guys obviously like the video. You watch till the end. So make sure to hit that like button on your way out. And again, if you guys want to join my community, I would love to have you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. But that's really all I got for today, guys. So as always, peace and love.